This is the Spirit and Wellness Show. News and information from a higher perspective. With your host, Harry Wilkinson. Yes, welcome to the Spirit and Wellness Show. I'm Harry Wilkinson, and this is the show where we take a look at the days and weeks events, and we look at them in a spiritual or higher perspective. And I find it necessary for me, and it's something that is the basis of this show, mainly to help me to develop this perspective. As I've said many times, a lot of people who are spiritually inclined or consider themselves to be spiritual seekers of one kind or another find the kind of media that we're exposed to today, the constant media that surrounds us, from the 24-hour news networks to the access from smartphones and tablets and your computer. It seems like more and more we are bathing in media messages. And many people find that these media messages are disturbing to them, or make them feel disempowered in one way or another, or frustrated or angry. I mean, how many of you watch the news, or maybe catch a little bit of talk radio or something and get mad enough to throw something at the TV or the radio and then walk around fuming for the next hour? It happens. It happens to me. One of the things that I began to realize as I began to open more and learn more about metaphysics and kind of understand the perspective of the mystic, of the metaphysician, is that we're creating all of these things, and we create them for very good reason, and we expose ourselves to them for very good reason, because there's something in it for us to experience and grow from. Note that I didn't say learn. I don't entirely agree that life is a giant learning experience. I see it more as, of course you do learn, and you do explore, but I see it as more of a giant play experience in which we rediscover maybe all of the things that we really already know. We are able to rediscover and reconnect with our truest, highest, and best selves. And that's what it's all for. That's what we're creating all of this for. And we can very easily lose sight of it, because you know what? We're very good at creating these games. We're very good at creating these situations and fooling ourselves. We're very good at creating, I guess you could think of them as these holographic experiences that make us feel like, a popular one seems to be that in one way or another the world is ending. In one way or another. Either global warming is going to take us out, the zombie apocalypse is at hand, the rapture is going to grab us and pick us up, or more serious issues, that involve, our finances and our economic strength and our sense of security, our sense of stability. I don't mean to make light of global warming. It is as real a problem as we have created it to be. And we've created it to learn about ourselves and to learn how to overcome that. And it's a learning and growing experience that we are continuing to immerse ourselves on a massive scale as we continue to find our own connections in the world. So, when these elements of our world, when these stories that we have created and that get repackaged and resold to us flood our senses, there are several ways to deal with it. Many people feel that the best way to do it, and again, I'm talking about those of a spiritual bend, those of a spiritual mindset that consider themselves to be spiritual seekers, may feel that the best thing to do is just tune it out, turn it off, not listen to it. And in fact, many people choose not to have access to televisions, radios, and so forth. They just choose to tune it all out, which you can do to a certain point. I don't think you're going to be successful unless you, retire to a mountaintop somewhere in disconnecting yourself from it all. It's going to get through to you one way or another. Try as you might. You can give it a good try. It will find you. And that has a lot also to do with the idea that it's a metaphysical idea that what you push away naturally just comes back even stronger. So I say, not only is it probably not, really possible to completely cut yourself off from all of this stuff, I'm saying that it's not even the best idea. I'm saying that you actually lose more, and you lose an opportunity. You lose an opportunity to really go into this stuff, explore your discomfort level, and then turn it around. Turn it around to realize what it really is, which is a creation of our own, a brilliant creation of our own, on a massive scale, at the highest level of our being. And you can apply that to anything, even the worst, terrible mass shooting, the worst incidents that you hear about, as frightening and as alarming as they may appear, and they do, and they're created that way. Otherwise, the experience wouldn't feel real. It wouldn't feel authentic if it didn't have a real impact that you needed it to have. But if you look at it from the metaphysical point of view, in other words, that we are eternal beings creating and playing at this stuff. We're creating these characters that die or get murdered or raped or beaten or what have you. But that at another level altogether, those things aren't real at all. They aren't happening because we can't be at that level hurt or destroyed or, in any sense, experience those kinds of pains. But in the hologram that we've created, we want to experience that. We create it so we can experience that, so we can remember and begin to reconnect with our oneness. So we often, I believe, in this existence, create things to experience what we don't experience on the highest level of our being, what we can experience. It's like we go to the movies, or we turn on television, I'm talking about scripted drama now, so that we can experience something, a life or a world that we would not be able to experience in our normal everyday existence. Well, if you take that back to a higher level, at the level of oneness, we don't experience these things at all. So we create an experience where we can sort of play in that world. That's my my take on it, and many spiritual writers have talked about that. Everybody from Neil Donald Walsh to Eckhart Tolle to Course in Miracles. So many spiritual writings talk about this idea, and it is a powerful idea, and it's something that is expanding to your heart and your mind and your soul when you think of it that way. And it certainly has helped me to take in the massive amounts of information that we get on a daily basis, and it's only going to increase. You understand that our technology is a runaway train at this point, continues to better itself almost on its own, like it has a life and will of its own. And the more that happens, the more access to more channels and the more messages that come through, the more we will have to filter or deal with or try to come to an understanding of. And rather than lose our minds, which in one way is probably the best way to deal with it, to lose the old mind and open to a newer mind, we can look at these things from this perspective that I'm talking about. There are many ways to get into that path. I mentioned some of the writers that I've been talking about, but there's two writers I'm going to focus on a little bit today, and this won't be the only thing we talk about today, by the way. And I'm so bad. I should really promo everything I'm going to do in the show so that people can know what they're going to hear. I just kind of jump in, but we're going to be talking about. As we usually do, we're going to be talking about some yoga poses that can be helpful for you in relieving stress and strengthening the body. We're going to be talking about some interesting new technology that has emerged in solar technology. But first, I want to talk about what is on so many people's minds these days, and that is money. And I think dealing with money, finding a way to understand what it really means, is one of the best ways for people to really not only explore their spiritual nature, not only seek out the spiritual, but to actually live it in everyday life. Because if you can do it with money, which many people think is the basest, coarsest, most materialistic level of being, then it will apply to all of your life. Because money permeates all of your life in everything that you do. So working with that is truly important. It's funny, you have money, which correlates to the element of earth, which is everywhere. We need the earth to survive in this physical aspect, anyway. The spirit, which is, connected to air. Air is everywhere around us, of course, and we need that to live too, but we can't see it unless it's very cold out, or we do some experiments, and then we can see air moving in and out. But normally, we don't see air. We don't know how much or how important it is. But if we didn't have it, Earth wouldn't mean very much to us now, would it? So, in any case, I want to talk about money a little bit, and I want to talk about two authors who have taken similar yet differing approaches on a spiritual approach to money. And the first is Mr. Robert Scheinfeld, who wrote a book several years back, and he's written several since then, using the same concept of our, creating this hologram and recognizing the truth. And one of his earliest books that explores that concept is called Busting Loose from the Money Game. Busting Loose from the Money Game by Robert Scheinfeld. And it was a very popular book when it came out. I believe it came out I remember reading it maybe 2006 or 7. And he's done many workshops since then, and as I said, has written more books using the same kinds of concepts. And much of it also details his personal journey in how he dealt with money. How he went through bankruptcies and how he watched, his businesses collapse, and how he went through such a dark night of the soul and so much pain until he began to really understand what was happening to him. And what he began to understand was the truth of who and what he really was, and the truth of who and what we all are. And this came through to him in an early understanding that this is all a game. That's what he said to himself. He realized that it was the human game, where we restrict ourselves, we limit ourselves, we create crisis after crisis, and we experience these things as if they are very, very real. So he talks about, in his early books, he talks about 2 phases. Phase 1, where we're in the game and don't know it, and basically Phase 2, where we're in the game, but now we know it's a game. Now we know what it is. And since then, he has added a Phase 3 to this, which is basically, and that's his newest book, which is learning how to be joyful and happy and experience happiness, whatever is going on in your life. And that really is at the essence of spirituality, which is, understanding the joy of life, even though appearances may often deceive us into believing that we're in a world of misery. And my goodness, how often does that happen? So that's his newest book, which is The Key to Ultimate Happiness. He says it's how to be happy all the time, no matter what's going on around you. So that's an interesting book as well. But I wanted to talk about just the busting loose from the money game aspect of it, because it is an earlier book of his and details earlier experiences, but it's a very interesting approach that he takes to looking at money, and looking at money as a flow, if you will, that isn't limited. That indeed is opposite of that, is that the more that you put out, the more that comes back to you. So that is an interesting take on it, and at a certain level, of course, it's very true. Now, there's another gentleman that I mentioned on the show before, and we've been talking about his work. His name is Charles Eisenstein, and he's written a book called Sacred Economics. Money, Gift, and Society in the Age of Transition. And in this book, he talks about, in order for us to experience money in the way that Mr. Scheinfeld is talking about it, we have to change how we think about money, and we have to change how we think about ourselves on a massive scale. And so I've been reading sections of this book, and I want to continue to do that. There's one section here that I thought is very interesting, considering the era that we live in, where we are continuing to prop up an illusion of wealth that does not serve us. We are continuing to prop up a belief system that says that in order for me to have more, you need to have less. Basically, that's the idea, because there's limitation and there's only so much. And if I'm going to thrive, then somebody else has to fail. And of course, when you look at it that way, and when that's your belief system, everybody fails. But in any case, let me read a little bit of this to you. He says, imagine you go to a bank and say, I'd like to borrow money for my business. Here's my business plan. See, if you lend me $1 million, I will earn $900,000 in 4 years' time. So I'd like you to lend me $1 million at negative interest, and I'll pay you back $900,000 in installments over 4 years. We love your business plan, says the bank. Here's your money. Why do they agree? Because that $1 million, if left as cash, would depreciate at an even higher rate, say 7%, so that after 4 years, only about $740,000 would be left. He's talking about a concept called negative interest, in which rather than money either staying the same or increasing in value, the more you hold on to it, in a negative interest society, if you hold on to your money, the longer you hold on to it, the less value it has. And he makes the point that this is pretty much the same with any commodity that you have. I mean, your car, the longer you have the car, the less value it has. The longer you hold on to your food, it's going to spoil if you don't use it. Anything else that you have, you know, if you own a house, the longer you hold on to the house. Now, the house may increase in value, but you have to continue to keep that up, because it will eventually, fall apart, and that will cause it to decrease in value. So he's talking about how a negative interest approach in society would stop the hoarders. Those are the people that we refer to often as the 1%ers, the ones that hold on to all the money and make money from actually having money and lending it to other people. In a negative interest society, that would be turned on its head. And he's giving this example about how, they would make $900,000 off of $1 million that would, depreciate if they did not give it to this person. So it is to the bank's benefit, he says, to make the loan described above. Another way to understand the dynamics of decaying currency is that, like inflation, it reverses the discounting of future cash flows. And so this is an idea where when you start to think about how we commoditize things in our world, we take things that really don't have a monetary value and try to monetize them. We've done this with the land, which, in truth doesn't belong to anyone. We call this the idea of the commons. The commons belongs to everyone, and you can just borrow or rent things, but no one really owns them. So we've changed that and made it a commodity, in an ownership society where people actually believe that they own these lands and then make money from either renting these lands or selling them or so on and so forth. We take things like water and commoditize that. So water, which is free and available to everyone, is now all of a sudden a commodity that you have to pay for, because you have to pay for it either to get to you, or you have to pay for it to buy it in the grocery store. Same with all of these other things. And when we run out of things to commoditize, that's when our growth ends. Financial growth, economic growth, not spiritual growth. And what he's talking about is that what we're basically experiencing is the end of growth. If you listen to the economic people on the news, if you listen to all the financial reports, what's everybody always talking about? Growth. How do we stimulate growth? We need more growth, and the only way that you get more growth is to find new things to commoditize. And since we're running out of those things, the latest frontier is commoditizing your thoughts, what we call intellectual property. Now it's possible to own an idea, and nobody else can have that idea unless they pay for it. Nobody else can have that thought unless they pay for it. So these are the kinds of things that our society is built on, and these are the kinds of things that Mr. Eisenstein is pointing out are going to have to change. Not it would be a nice idea if they did change, or wouldn't it be a lovely day if we all started to do that? It's what has to happen because of where we are now and the changes that are going on in our world, and because of the fact that our current belief system is not sustainable. Okay, so we'll get back to that. That will be a continuing discussion on this show for quite some time, I assure you, since our economic worries are continual in this cycle of existence that we're in right now. But I want to turn our attention to two things here. I mentioned a new breakthrough in solar technology, and this is a solar impulse plane. A plane powered only by the sun. And what's happened is that this plane has completed the first leg of a journey in which it's planned that this plane will cross the United States. The plane is called the Solar Impulse. It took off at dawn from San Francisco, California on Friday. Friday was May 3rd, and landed in Phoenix, Arizona, some 18 hours later. Now it's going to continue on its journey. It's going to stop in Dallas, St. Louis, right here in Washington, D.C., and New York in the next couple of weeks. And the plane has the same wingspan as an Airbus A340, one of those commuter planes. And it has already made a day and night flight lasting more than 26 hours. A night flight. Isn't that interesting? And the team that's created this, they plan to circumnavigate the globe by 2015. Now, apparently this solar impulse spent several hours flying in darkness, and it relied on the energy that it stored in its lithium-ion batteries from the sun to propel it through the nighttime hours. And in the daylight hours, then, these nearly 12,000 solar cells were charged, and these cells cover the craft's wings and stabilizer. So this is the first attempt of its kind with a zero-fuel aircraft. There's no fuel in this thing. No fuel at all. It's amazing. Co-founder and entrepreneur Andre Borschberg with Bertrand Piccard. I wonder if he's related to the captain of the USS Enterprise in the 24th century. That's for you Trekkies out there. They have created this amazing plane. It's the first night flight of a solar-powered aircraft. Actually, no, it's not. They did it before in 2010, apparently. And then this was followed by a first international flight in 2011 and a first intercontinental flight in 2012. So, the two of these men are flying this plane. And they've been preparing for the flight, he says, since last summer. And they say they feel very much like it's 1915, and they are, of course, the originators of air flight. It's fascinating, and what a wonderful, hopeful idea that is. That if this all goes well, we could have planes that rely totally on solar power. Now, cost and all of those things would come into play, but who knows? In any case, it is a step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. So, let me leave you with that wonderful thought. about how our technology is helping us to move beyond our destructive impulses. And look forward to seeing you next Sunday.